This is absolutely explosive. For months, everyone has been waiting to hear from Mann, the Welsh flanker at the center of the Eben Etzebeth eye-gouging controversy that shocked the rugby world. And now, just 3 days ago, Mann finally broke his silence, and what he said will blow your mind. He talked about receiving video clips every 30 seconds, about false accusations spreading on social media, about frustration with lies, and about why he's putting the whole incident behind him. This is the interview everyone's been waiting for, and the revelations are absolutely shocking. Before we dive into Mann's explosive statements, you need to smash that subscribe button right now, hit the notification bell, drop a like, and comment telling me if you believe Mann's version of events. Let's get into this bombshell. Mann sat down for his first public interview about the Eben Etzebeth incident, and his opening words perfectly captured the insanity of what he experienced in the aftermath of that controversial match. The 24-year-old Cardiff flanker said, and I quote, "It was pretty mad." He described how he was receiving video clips of the incident every 30 seconds from people all over the world. Every 30 seconds. Imagine that level of constant bombardment, your phone blowing up non-stop with people sending you footage of one of the most traumatic moments of your rugby career, asking for your reaction, demanding explanations, creating theories about what really happened. The incident that Mann is referring to happened during Wales' November 2024 Test match against South Africa at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff. During a heated scuffle in the match, television cameras captured what appeared to be Eben Etzebeth making contact with Mann's eye area. The images were broadcast globally, went viral instantly, and sparked massive outrage across the rugby world. Etzebeth was shown a red card during the match, and the subsequent disciplinary hearing found him guilty of intentionally gouging Mann's eyes, one of rugby's most serious offenses. If you're shocked by how insane the situation was for Mann, smash that like button right now and let me know in the comments if you think he handled it well. The ban handed down to Etzebeth was severe, 12 matches after a reduction from an initial 18-week sanction. That punishment reflected the seriousness of the offense under World Rugby's disciplinary framework. For Mann, the young Welsh flanker, this was supposed to be a career-defining moment for positive reasons, playing against the world champions, competing at the highest level. Instead, it became the most controversial moment of his life, thrust into a global spotlight he never wanted or asked for. What makes Mann's situation even more difficult is the nature of social media in modern sport. Within minutes of the incident, millions of people had seen the footage, formed opinions, and started sharing their views online. Mann couldn't escape it even if he wanted to. Every time he opened his phone, there were messages, clips, articles, debates, accusations. The constant barrage of attention, most of it negative or inflammatory, must have been absolutely overwhelming for a player who's still early in his professional career and had never experienced anything like this before. Now here's where Mann's interview becomes really interesting and reveals the emotional toll this incident took on him. Mann admitted that he was particularly frustrated by false accusations that spread on social media suggesting that he had somehow initiated or provoked the incident with Etzebeth. Can you imagine how infuriating that must have been? You're the victim of an eye-gouging incident, you've done nothing wrong, the disciplinary panel cleared you completely of any wrongdoing, yet thousands of people online are claiming you started it, that you deserved what happened, that you were somehow responsible for Etzebeth's actions. Mann said, and these are his exact words, obviously it was frustrating because it wasn't the truth. That statement is loaded with so much meaning and emotion. He's not just saying it was annoying or inconvenient to deal with false claims. He's saying it was frustrating, a word that suggests genuine anger and helplessness at watching lies spread about you while you're trying to process a traumatic incident. When you're the victim, when the evidence is clear, when you've been vindicated by an official disciplinary process, having people still attack you and blame you must be absolutely maddening. Make sure you're subscribed because we're giving you the real story with all the context that mainstream media leaves out. This is investigative journalism. The false accusations Mann is referring to likely came from hardcore Springboks fans who were desperate to defend Etzebeth and find some way to minimize what happened. Some people claimed Mann had been holding or pulling Etzebeth before the incident, suggesting that justified the response. Others invented narratives about what happened in the preceding moments that cameras didn't capture clearly. These theories spread rapidly through social media echo chambers where people convinced themselves and others that Mann must have done something to provoke such an extreme reaction from a normally controlled player like Etzebeth. What's particularly cruel about these false accusations is that Alex Mann had no real way to fight back against them effectively. He could have engaged on social media, arguing with strangers, trying to set the record straight, but that would have just fueled more controversy and kept the story alive longer. He could have done interviews immediately after the incident, but that risked making the situation worse and appearing like he was seeking attention. So Mann was stuck in this impossible position where lies were spreading about him, damaging his reputation, but there was no good way to stop it without making things worse. Despite all the chaos, all the false accusations, all the trauma of the incident itself, Alex Mann has made the mature and admirable decision to put everything behind him and move forward with his career. He said in the interview, "It's in the past for me now," and he even downplayed the seriousness of what happened by calling it a bit of handbags. That phrase, a bit of handbags, is British slang for minor scuffles or confrontations that look worse than they actually are. It's Mann's way of saying that while the incident looked terrible on camera and had serious consequences, he's not going to let it define him or hold grudges. Mann went even further, offering perspective on the nature of rugby as a physical sport where aggression is inherent and sometimes things go over the edge. He said, and this is a fascinating insight into how players think, rugby's an aggressive game, sometimes aggression goes over the edge, but that's how it is. You've got 15 men going out to hurt each other in the right way. That last phrase, in the right way, is crucial. Mann understands that rugby involves controlled violence, physical dominance, intimidation. What happened with Etzebeth crossed a line, went beyond controlled violence into dangerous territory, but Mann recognizes that's an occupational hazard in a collision sport. Drop a comment if you respect Alex Mann's maturity in handling this situation. This is impressive from such a young player. Mann's decision to move on rather than dwelling on the incident or seeking ongoing attention shows remarkable emotional intelligence for a 24-year-old. He could have milked this situation for sympathy, done a series of interviews, positioned himself as a victim, kept the controversy alive to maintain his profile. Instead, he's choosing to let his rugby do the talking and refusing to be defined by one traumatic moment. That's the mindset of someone who has a long career ahead of him and understands that dwelling on the past won't help him improve as a player. So what can we learn from Alex Mann's decision to finally break his silence weeks after the incident? And what does this tell us about how modern rugby players handle controversy? First and most importantly, Mann's experience shows how brutal social media can be for athletes caught in controversial moments. The constant bombardment of clips, opinions, accusations, and abuse that he described receiving every 30 seconds is psychological torture that previous generations of rugby players never had to deal with. In the past, a controversial incident would have been discussed in newspapers and on television, but players could at least escape it when they got home. Now, it follows you everywhere, on your phone, on your computer, in your social media feeds, unavoidable and relentless. Second, Mann's frustration with false accusations highlights a massive problem with how information spreads in the social media age. Anyone can make a claim, create a theory, spread a narrative, and if it's sensational or fits what people want to believe, it will go viral regardless of whether it's true. The actual facts, the official findings of the disciplinary panel, Mann's complete exoneration of any wrongdoing, none of that matters to people who have already decided what happened based on tribal loyalty to their team or their favorite players. Third, and perhaps most impressively, Mann's decision to move forward rather than seeking revenge or holding grudges demonstrates the kind of character that makes for long successful careers in professional sport. He's choosing grace over bitterness, perspective over victimhood, the future over the past. That's easier said than done when you've been the victim of something as serious as eye gouging, when you've been falsely accused by thousands of people online, when your name has been dragged through international controversy. Yet Mann is doing it, showing maturity beyond his years. For Eben Etzebeth, Mann's comments might actually provide some relief. By downplaying the incident as a bit of handbags and expressing understanding that aggression sometimes goes over the edge in rugby, Mann is indirectly giving Etzebeth some grace rather than demanding harsher punishment or permanent condemnation. That's generous considering what happened, and it might help both players eventually move past this ugly chapter and focus on their careers. There you have it. Alex Mann finally breaks his silence on the Eben Etzebeth incident, revealing it was pretty mad. He was frustrated by false accusations, but he's moving forward and putting it in the past. If this shocked you, smash that like button, subscribe for more explosive rugby news, and drop a comment telling me if you respect how Mann handled this situation. Both players can now hopefully move on.